You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
It's time!
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. We are past our halfway point of March already. We are on a roll this year, getting things done. That is what we're focused on. Like I said at the beginning of the year, we are going to be focused to achieve our goals. All right. So, if you do not know who I am your host of this Tech Q&A show. I am the host of the channel. I am Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're going to get to our Q&A. Just want to welcome everyone in here. Thank you so much for being here. So, let's get to our agenda. All right. So, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of the newest subscribers, as well as all of the subscribers who have been with me for a while now. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome.
I appreciate you.
I really do appreciate you. And shout out to my guy, Justin, the test lead. Shout out to Justin, as always, for the amazing conversations that we're able to have in the realm of QA, as that software engineering, software development. It's always so fun to catch up with him, and it's like a meeting of the minds and strategy and stuff like that. So I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much for having me on your platform and, sharing your audience with me. So I really appreciate that, as always. All right. Next up, shout out to my tech barbarians, to my Patreon members who, putting in the work, the new signups who trust in the vision to gain that necessary experience that they need to get their foot into the door, or those who are already in the tech industry, whether they're QA or software engineering, interested in cybersecurity, who's putting in the work. I have a coaching call right after the Q&A, because we work, right. I have my calendar open all day, available for appointments, so that we can jump on calls and we can work. At the end of the day, nothing matters but the results. I always tell you that nothing matters but the results. So we're going to get to work. All right. So shout out to my tech barbarians. We just had our scrum night the other night, and we're building applications that are going to go out to that are in the public, so that we can get the experience of software development lifecycle. Whether you're doing QA, whether you're doing UI UX, whether you're doing software engineering, you get that experience, and then we can apply it daily and going through the scrum process, all of that. So that's my goal. That's my intention. That's the only way that I know how to coach. Coaching through practical experience, not through theory. I mean, we have to learn the theory, but now we need to apply that theory to the work that we do. So that's what I do. All right. So let's continue. All right. So next up, I want to share the live show schedule with you. We have Sunday afternoons, our software explorations. We are working through Terraform. This past Sunday, we did Docker, and we started setting up the Elastic container registry for and the reason we're doing that is we want to try migrating our Node.js app from Elastic Beanstalk to a Amazon Fargate, which is like serverless containers. So we're looking into that, but we have to go through the process using Terraform step by step. So that's the type of work that we do, right? We do Terraform on Sundays, improving our infrastructure as code, as well as we're going to be going into DevOps very, very soon thereafter. Tuesday nights, tonight we do Q&A. I find questions, or you can call in. I'm going to pin the link to the top of the chat in case you do want to call in and ask me a question. You do not have to be on. You won't be on camera actually. You have to be. I have to be able to see you, but I'm not going to pull you up on camera onto the show. They'll be able to hear your voice, but they won't be able to see you. All right. So if you want to call in, feel free. All right. Let's say what else we have. Thursday nights we have software explorations. I don't. I'm not going to be in town this Thursday, so I'm not sure if I'm going to actually do a show. It won't be our QA stuff that we've been working on, but I don't know. So there might be something, there might not be. I just have to see. I'm gonna lean on the side of no right now, but we'll see. All right. And then we have our morning shows Mondays and Wednesdays right now at 7:15 a.m. The Coffee and Kata show where we do news, and we are working on our Flutter mobile app development. We're working on turning the time cost calculator into a mobile application. So we go live just about every single day, putting in that work, never quitting, never giving up. All right. So something for everyone. So definitely tune into the live show, interact with me. Let's get to work. That's what we do. All right. So next up, let's jump into our pre-recorded content. Mondays, we have candid conversations. Yesterday's candid conversation was a very, very tough one for me to make, I must say. But that's the life that we live. That's the life that we go through. Sometimes we get presented with challenges, and we just have to figure it out. Like I said, at the end of the day, nothing matters but the results. So we have to figure it out. Wednesdays, we have software explorations, concepts, and overviews. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the GRC framework, digging deeper into that. It's already scheduled to premiere at noon Eastern time, so you definitely want to tune into that. And then Fridays, we have the bug bite. We're going to be talking about a WordPress vulnerability with one of its plugins. So if you have a website, if you use WordPress, you definitely want to tune in for that. So all these shows are at noon, and then throughout the week, release shorts as well as clips from the Q&A show, and then sometimes we have additional clips. I'm thinking about getting even some more content for you, so still figuring that out. But that's the plan. That's the goal. Looking forward to getting your feedback. If you have any ideas, do not hesitate to leave me a comment, send me a message, send me an email. If you're looking for any particular type of content, like for instance, someone asked about API testing. Good guy asked me about API testing, and we're going to get into that very, very soon. As soon as we finish with the automation work on the free mind recovery site, which we're almost done. We're just about done. We're going to get into API testing, and I have different ways that you can get into API testing. We're going to look at manual testing through Postman. We're going to look at automation through Java. We're going to look at automation through Python, and maybe we'll look at it through JavaScript/TypeScript. We'll see, right? But the key is we need to work on. Did I say automation? Oh my god! I meant API testing. API testing. All right, API testing. That's what we're going to be working on. And we're going to work on manually. We're going to work on doing it through Java with the rest assured, with Python through the request library, and we're going to work. Like I said, if you are interested in API testing, you definitely want to tune in for those shows. Okay. All right. So that is our pre-recorded content. So you definitely want to tune in for that. All right. Next up, we're going to jump into the questions actually, right? I have coffee over here tonight because I am super exhausted tonight. It was a very, very long day, long week, long past 2 months, but we're making it. All right. All right. With that being said, if you do me a big favor before we go any further, right? If you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor. As just on time. Just see, and that's what you call an amazing co-host, right? Just on time. Mitch is here, and like I said, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live, drop new content. I'm here, like when I'm live, I'm here to help you, to answer your questions. Any question that you have, let me know. And on any stream, if you have a question, let me know. It doesn't even have to be exactly about what we're working on, but I'm here for you, right? And that's why I go live so I can be able to interact with you and provide you the content that you need, all right? As well as if you need one-on-one coaching with me, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev and check out what I'm offering and check out the different coaching plans. If you are not sure and you want a consultation, you can get a 15-minute consultation and I can explain it to you and you can sign up to work with me one-on-one. All right. So that is what we are working on. Let me post the link in the chat for you to call in case you want to call in and have a conversation. Let's see. I am going to do. How am I going to do this? All right, let's go with this. And let's go with. Let's just go with here. All right, let's do that. Keto. All right, so if you want to call in, if you have a question, the link is pinned to the top of the chat, and you can call in. All right, what's going on? I'm awake. I was just pinning something. Just give me a break. Give me a break. All right. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's get to it. Time is a running. Let's go. Oh, see, before you can even go, we got a special guest in the house. What's going on, Darcel? Good evening to you as well. Always wonderful to have the family here.
I appreciate you.
All right, so let's get going. Let's get going. Let's get to our first question. Time is of the essence. All right, here we go. Questions are here. And let's get started.
Another one.
So the first question, QA software engineer to more hardware focused test engineer, says, I have an amazing opportunity to move from a role that is essentially a SDET, SDET stands for software development engineer and test, to a somewhat unknown role that is a test engineer. The test engineer role is an automation focused role with an incredible company. The plan is to grow the automation side of things as well as working as a liaison between the hardware and software teams. I guess my main concern is if I go to a role that is more focused on software testing hardware, that I am going to get stuck in it. My career goal is to be an SDET or software engineer. Ideally, back end, although I know most companies want a full stack engineer that can do 100% of everything with 50 years of experience at the junior level. Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. I'm going to give one of these to that one. Hold on. Can I find it? We're going to get. I can't do it. Okay, so I'm gonna read that again, just so we can do this, right? Although I know most companies want a full stack engineer that can do 100% of everything with 50 years of experience at the junior level. All right, I just had to. All right. As I type this out, I realize I am moving from software testing to software testing hardware, and maybe this this concern is unfounded, but I would love any insight from people with more experience. All right. So let's get our clock up. Thank you, Mitch. And let's get to it. So going from I think this person, as they got towards the end of writing their thing, they actually saw that they're still testing. They're essentially doing the same thing. Your focus is on like the software that like you're writing code to test the hardware, but I wouldn't. It's still you're still a test engineer, and there isn't anything that's keeping you from always being able to pivot. And here's I think one of the problems that people have is that they get tunnel vision, right? So for instance, me, I am a QA engineer. I do like I'm responsible and accountable for the quality of the software and making sure that the whole team has quality in mind. But that doesn't stop me from diving into engineering things, diving into infrastructure things about like, always expanding. I'm a big advocate for Docker, and Docker, for instance, has helped me tremendously. I was talking to one of our engineers today, to one of our younger engineers today, and they were saying, Docker is really starting to I'm really starting to like Docker because of how quickly I can just get things set up versus like spending hours to do it manually. And the reason that I mentioned that is because everything is a learning opportunity, and everything is something to add to your story. And I try to tell people that where you have to use your past experience to drive your future goals. Sometimes people will come to me like, "Oh, I used to be in nursing, or I'm in nursing, or I used to be in nursing, but I want to transition into some field of tech, right?" And I say, "Well, why don't you use your experience in nursing to try to work for a tech company that has to do with medical, pharmaceutical, like nursing? Use your expertise to help your transition." Sometimes we just want to totally like neglect all the effort that we've ever put in the past. And I'm like, no, you need to use that experience. So if you're going to be, if you have the opportunity, if you have if that opportunity is really that good at an incredible company, and you get to build out the infrastructure and the thought process and the processes for automation, then that is, and it says you get to be a liaison between the hardware team and the software team, right? That is a wonderful opportunity for you. And I would say that uh, there's nothing like you should go for it. I would go for it. Like, I mean, I would definitely go for it if it's as you described. And for you to think that, and you'd still like being a test engineer, SDET, QA engineer, like they all are very closely similar, and you can pivot at any point. It doesn't mean that you stop pursuing like your goals of like learning different coding languages, different tools, different processes, all of that. It's you have to build that. Many times we just want to go to work for 8 hours and then that's it. One of the people that I always mention on this channel that I follow closely is Robert C. Martin. And he says that if you're not putting an extra 20 hours a week to enhance your skills, to enhance your craft, you're not doing it right. Because the 40 hours, that's for your company. But what about you? What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to level up, to increase your skills? Right? I see Don in the chat. I've learned so much from talking to Don for the past few months, right? Uh, Exposed to different ways, like just by the Chaos Camp on its own, just by Chaos Camp on its own, of how to use different APIs about AI and stuff like that, things that we've been working on building and things like that. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. You have to continuously keep going forward. And whatever role that you end up in, like whatever title you end up at work, it doesn't define the path that you have to take. And you need to always be what's the word that I'm looking for? Growing. You need to always be growing. You know, there's like if you're not moving forward, then you're moving backwards. There's no stagnation. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So if you have the opportunity to lead, to build, to grow, that is a story that companies, future companies want to hear about. What is the awesome thing that you did for your prior company? And if it's, oh yeah, I moved to this company where they didn't have any hardware automation testing, and I built that out, and I put the processes in place. I set up the infrastructure, all of those things. That's a guaranteed job right there. Because going from what you have to figure out, that means that you are innovative, right? You can figure things out, and that is a pathway for success. Okay. We have my guy Don in the chat. Guest star Don, all the way from the West Coast. I have no idea what that text says, but salute to you, Don. And Mitch says, everyone can't handle that though. Bit still a but still a good experience. Worst case scenario, you don't like it. A lot to gain, nothing to lose. Facts. That is true. That is true. You have to learn from your experience. And Don says, it's been great. Indeed it has. Indeed it has. And Mitch says, I didn't even want to take on my new role, but nothing to lose. Exactly. And how do you like it though? How do you like your new role? If you've been in it enough to make that assessment. I remember at my last company, they had moved me to a new role where I was still doing my current role plus taking on another role. And I didn't really have interest to do it, but I was like, I'll do it to gain the experience. And then like I learned a lot. Not that I would want to go and do that role, but I learned a lot about how to deal with SQL and ETL and stuff like that. So there's always there can always be a positive, all right? Okay, so let's move on to our next question. Let's see. Get a sip first. All right, let's do it.
Another one.
Personal project recommendation. All right, so I'm a junior tester, mostly doing manual testing and bug defects for my company. However, I want to progress my career by learning more types of testing, namely API testing with Postman, performance testing with JMeter, or you can use the Ralph performance testing tool that Don built. Just saying. All right. Automation testing with Selenium and Python. Mobile app testing using Appium. All right. Says, can I get some recommendations on what projects are suitable to be shown on my GitHub profile so that I can have better portfolio in job hunting? All right, let's get the clock up. And I'm going to break a little hearts real quick. I'm going to break some hearts, right? Nobody, I repeat, nobody really cares that much about your GitHub profile. They really don't. The most that they might care about is you have one, but no one is going to be digging through your GitHub profile to see every single line of code that you wrote, right? What your GitHub profile is useful for is that if they give you a project and you have to push that to GitHub, then you can use that to share. And it's also useful for yourself, right? One thing I would check on GitHub is the level of activity that you have on your GitHub as well. But there's no way possible for people that busy to be going through your GitHub to see like all the different stuff that you did, right? So Does that mean that these projects aren't important? Absolutely not. The projects are super important, and the things that you're trying to do, they're super important. I'm just saying that nobody really cares about your GitHub that way. Should you not put it on your resume and stuff like that? Absolutely, you should, because it is important to have like all those, like having your LinkedIn on there, having your GitHub link on there, your email address, if you have a website, your website, all that, super important. But nobody really cares about your GitHub like that because we don't have the time to go and look at every single repo that you have on there, right? But to get to these questions, so sorry to break your heart, but to get to these questions, API testing with Postman. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the API testing series where we'll be using Postman or Insomnia. Maybe we'll do both. We're going to be using, and we'll probably like either use Rapid API, that one of their APIs over there. They give you, like, those are APIs you can use for free to practice, to learn, and stuff like that. We have done performance testing using JMeter on this channel, and the thing with performance testing is you need to be able to send a lot of traffic to it. I think a great way to practice performance testing is if you take some site, right, some test site, and you deploy it to AWS, and then you do performance testing against your AWS instances or however you set it up, right? And that goes along with our Terraform work, where we deployed an application to AWS, and then we can use that for performance testing. Simple. Automation testing with Selenium and Python. I've done plenty of videos where we did automation with Selenium and Python. We've been doing Selenium with TypeScript lately. The way that I say you practice with that is you just find a site that you like and go through that, go check out, like, it's a whole process. Write the test cases that you would be using to test that site, and then you automate those test cases. Simple. Or find a software engineer, a full stack developer who's working on a project, building something, and say, hey, because here's a secret. Most software developers, full stack developers, they don't know much about testing. They barely write any unit tests. So team up with them and say, hey, let me test your application. And then you see that they're not putting test data IDs, like identifiers and stuff like that. And you tell them, hey, this isn't clean. How are we supposed to test this if we don't have identifiers? And then you say you have to add identifiers, and you make them better, and you make them more test minded, and you get that practical experience. Right? Oh, there you go. And then for the mobile app testing using Appium. So that one's a little bit harder because you would need to have the file, the app that you can install on the device or on the emulator. So that one's a little bit harder. That one's a little bit trickier. But if you can find an APK, or you can find the IPA file for using, if you're trying to do it with iOS, then you'll be in a good spot. I would also say for the mobile app testing using Appium part, don't hesitate to try out AWS Device Farm. They give you a certain amount of free minutes that you can use it for, but getting in tune with the latest technologies is like, you don't understand how important it is to use the latest technologies. And saying that you're able to connect your mobile testing or even your automation testing to the AWS Device Farm and choose from a variety of browsers and operating systems to be able to run your test on, that is what makes you stand out from the people who just do the everyday rinky dinky test. Find a like that one I can't help you with, right? For my tech barbarians, I can with the apps with the app that I'm building for the time cost, and then the other apps that I'm going to build, I can shoot them the APA, the APK file or the IPA file for them to install and play around with and things like that. I don't care because they're my tech barbarians. But for you, if you're not a tech barbarian, you're gonna have to find a file to actually be able to test. What you can do is test like the mobile websites on a device, but that's not the same as testing an app. So for that, if you need an app to test, you got to become a tech barbarian, and we can work together, and I can help you out with that. But other than that, that's all you got. All right, but sorry to break your heart, but nobody cares about your GitHub, unless you're using your GitHub to show a project that you're doing for your interview. But no one's going to be like, because the recruiters, they can't read the code like that to know what's in your GitHub. The managers are too busy to read your GitHub. The people who doing the actually interviewing you, they're too. I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes I go and look at some GitHubs just to see what's in there. But that's normally not when I'm interviewing for work. That's when I'm helping people out and seeing what projects that they have, which they barely have any. So, anyways, that wraps that one up. All right, let's get to the chat. What do we have in the chat? So, oh my goodness, there's a lot. All right, let's see. So, Mitch says, I didn't officially start yet, but I'm going to be doing dual like you. Yeah, I had to do dual. I mean, I was able, like, so when I was doing dual, I was able to get someone that like to do certain things that I used to do, and like I could pass off some of that work so I could focus on the other work. But yeah, it's and that's the thing about switching within companies. If you were to go to another company, you just start straight off with that job, right? But when you are doing it within the company, then they want you to continue doing your old job for a certain amount of time and start doing the new job because companies. All right. And you start Monday. Nice. And we got my guy in the chat. Says Shadow IT has entered the chat. Shout out to you, Pluto. What's going on? I've been having some amazing conversations with Pluto the past few days. And it is Friday for Pluto. Talk about a humble flex, all right? So chilling before work. Shout out to you. And let's see. Pluto said, I use my GitHub as a way to share my projects in my interviews because I'm lazy to remember every detail. So I'm like, all right, let me show you, boss. Yeah, I mean, it's useful if you can pull it up in an interview, but I mean, I've typically when I'm interviewing people, I'll like we'll have them do a project, like a small project, automate this, automate that, and no one's like all the interviews and stuff that I've been on. No one's ever asked me about stuff that's been in my GitHub. So I don't know. All right, what else we got? So I try to flip my technical interview into a social facts. That's 100% true. Because you have to make it conversational and interaction back and forth. You can't just be yes, no, specific answers. Like, and what I always tell people in their interviews is they need to use it as an opportunity to you have to look for the spots where you can share the key points. Right. So if there's something that that is really cool that you did and you want to share it, you have to find the spots where you can say like. So they ask you a question and you say, oh yeah, but, blah 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 blah. Like when I did this at this company and we were able to accomplish A, B, and C, and we saved the company this much money and we deployed this software, and I did this. Like all the cool stuff that you did, you need to find a way to plug it in so they can see the value that you're bringing. It's not just yes. No, it's I did this because of, and boom, right? So, okay, and what else we got? Mitch says, I say, yeah, yep, I'm him. Well, we know, Mitch, you are a man of few words. And Pluto says, I will say I have having panel interviews, maybe 2 to 3 people at most, but 5 to 6 people, I hate that. I hate. Okay, I was trying. Okay, got you hate having. Um, yeah, it's it can be weird if it's not structured. The panel interview, but I say just go out there and kill it. Sell yourself. Just sell yourself, and then here's the thing. Here's the thing with the panel interviews, right? Maybe one person might not be in favor of you, but if the other people are in favor of you, then you have a good chance of getting there. If it's a one on one and that person's not in favor of you, then you might not be going forward. So, it's there's pros and cons to everything. So I don't know. I mean, I've had one on one interviews, and then they're like, oh no, we're not going with you. But I've had panel interviews. Like usually when I get to the panel, it goes good from there. Pluto says those panels are yeah. I mean, Mitch says those panels are trash, and Pluto says it feels like an interrogation, so harder to have conversations. I really say that you have to make yourself the star of the show. That's I don't know. I think that you have to go in there saying that, like Mitch says, I'm him, right? You have to go in there saying, if my mentality when I go for interviews is it's your loss if you don't take me, because I know what I've done in the past and I know how awesome I am and I know how much you can benefit from my skill set. And if you don't want that, then okay, cool, no problem. Right? So I don't know. That's just me. All right, I'm glad to get to the next question, but Mitch says, Pluto, I'm the bad cop. Ralph is the good cop. That is a fact. My co-host is the bad cop. Shout out to the bad cops out there. Okay, that does not sound good. I take that back. We're not gonna shout out the bad cops out there. All right. Anyways, let's get to our next question. But before we get to our next question, if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor: like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. If you want to ask me a question and have a brief conversation, maybe about 3 to 5 minutes, go ahead and click the link that is pinned to the top of the chat and we can have a conversation. You do not have to be on camera, but I am here to answer your questions. Okay. So let's get to our next question.
Another one.
Feeling a bit discouraged about being a QA. I'm feeling discouraged about my job. And this person wants to share some context first. So, I have been working as a tester and a QA engineer for about 5 years now. I joined a project halfway through, trying my best to find issues and bugs that developers miss in their unit tests. Unfortunately, the project still has a lot of bugs after release. The worst thing is that everybody left. Some developers and QA were moved to another project. The team leader of my team has changed multiple times, and they decided to put me in charge after the project has been released. Don't threaten me with a good time, all right? The current team includes me, both QA and lead, and 2 developers, and we are working on a small update that the client wants to add. Even before I joined, the working process of my project sucks. What? And I fail to improve that. Well, that's a pity. But now the project manager is suddenly super concerned about our project. He invites team leads, tech leads, and senior QAs from other projects to help my team. He does not even ask me beforehand. Well, okay. He even wants to create a checklist for the test case. I just feel like ish at the moment. I was stuck on this project for 2 years and tried the best that I could to improve the quality. It seems that I have completely failed at QA and they want to tell me how to write test cases now. Perhaps I'm being overly pessimistic. Perhaps. Perhaps you are. All right. So let's find out what's going on and what can we do about this tragic scenario. So the way, start my clock. Okay. The way that I see this is, what are your goals? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Is it about your feelings? Or is it about the success of the project? Yes, you may have been dealt a bad hand, but the project manager wants to give help. And I would say one of the things I always say to QA testers, engineers, whatever the case may be, is stop trying your best to find issues and bugs, but start contributing to the prevention of issues and bugs. Start being proactive. Start encouraging your developers to be more QA minded. There's a term in QA called shifting left, where we are more proactive to be part of the development process, where we're helping the developers think through the different testing scenarios, potential tests, unit tests, to give them the insight of what we as QA engineers are looking for, what we're looking to validate, so that once the code is released, there's a less likelihood of finding huge bugs. And the benefit of that is we get to market faster. It costs the company a lot less money when we can be more cleaner in our development processes. Okay, people have left. I've worked even in my coaching group. People leave and stuff like that, and I just have to pick it up. And someone leaves, someone else comes in, and we just have to keep rolling. So companies, people are going to leave because people. And I always advocate, you have to do what's in your best interest. So if someone is frustrated with the project, or they have a better opportunity and they leave, well, who's going to step up? Who is going to step up? And it could be you. You could be the team leader as well. So how do we work better with developers? And it's a small update. Well, I would say start giving the mindset to these developers as, whenever you touch the code, how can we make it a little bit better? We accomplish what we want to do, but how can we give some love to the code to make it better as well? If we can make the code better, maybe we can add a unit test here or there, so that every time you make a change, you add a unit test to it to test that change. You start thinking of the different testing scenarios as early as possible. You contribute to the story refinements. You suggest, if you're not working in Agile, you say, hey, maybe we should try doing Agile. Maybe if you want things to get better and you don't have a Scrum Master, maybe you get Scrum Master certified and increase your value. Yes, increase your value. The things that people are not doing, why not you? Are you afraid of burnout? Or are you afraid of success? It's my perspective. So now, the project manager is concerned about the project, as they should be. They should have been suddenly they're concerned, but they should have been concerned from the very beginning. Better late than never to be concerned, what I say. So why, if there's team leads being invited, if there's tech leads being invited, if there's senior QAs being invited, why not embrace the additional help and the additional information and the additional strategy? They are seniors and they're leads for a reason. Your feelings are hurt because you weren't asked beforehand? Aww. Do you want to win? That is my question. Do you want to win? See, me, I want to win, and I am willing to learn and to have a conversation and to strategize with anyone. If I am I'll tell you this. I started at my company a little over a year ago, and for a new domain, a new field, and there was so much that I didn't know, and I leaned heavily on the QA engineer that was there before me, and my software engineers. And then as I get to grow, now I can contribute, and then they can help me and we can work together and how to make things better. I can give them some insights about different libraries and testing and stuff like that. They can give me some insight of how the code works and what it should be doing. We strategize. And now if you're not if you are getting the opportunity to work with these people who have been doing this for a very, very long time, help them help you. Help them help you. Get out of your feelings, get out of your ego. I was talking about ego and and feelings and emotions yesterday on Candid Conversations. You want to have a pity party. I feel like, well, get out of your feelings. Get out of your feelings. Reinforcement has come, right? You were miserable for the past like however long you're on this project, and now they say, okay, you know what? Let's take this project seriously. Let's send in reinforcements. And you're like, oh no, I feel bad because they send reinforcements. Well, I want to win. And you say that it seems like you've completely failed at QA. No, you're failing now because you're letting your feelings get the best of you instead of utilizing all of the resources that's been made available to you. So take it for what it's worth. But I think if you have a shifted mindset and you see the good that can come out of this, then you can be super successful and you can reach heights that you would have never even imagined with your pessimistic mindset. All right. So let's see what we got in the chat because I just be going and then I have no idea what's going on. That's why I can't read the chat because they're gonna because then I have to talk to them and if they disagree, then I have to defend myself. I'd rather defend myself after I finish answering. I don't want to get influenced by Mitch and Pluto over there, you know? I don't know what I'm crazy for, but you're probably right. Whatever it is, I'm crazy for that. Pluto says, my feelings. Yeah, my feelings do not care about your facts. And I agree, best interests. And a crisis means opportunity. Facts. When ish hits the fan, capture the bag falling down. That's what I'm talking about. It's so much easier when it's falling down, right? And Mitch agrees with Pluto. It says, how can I reach out to companies to work for free to get skills in software development? Well, actually, I would say I can do this. I'll throw because that one's gonna be a quick one. Let me put 3 minutes on that one. So the way that I would try to do it is I come across different startups. I forgot the name. I come across different startups who they're always looking for people, software developers, different type of people to pretty much work for free because they don't have the capital to be able to pay them. What I always say though, if like I would say make sure, and I was talking to a calculus coder about this, make sure that they have a actual business, like their startup is registered and that you can actually list that as working for that company, whether you're getting paid or not for it. Getting that experience is what's very important. And I'll say team up with another with somebody. And you'll have people who one person companies calling themselves CEOs. I'm not even going to get into that. But I would definitely say that team up with somebody and that way the things that you're learning, you can actually exercise it and practice it, things like that. That's what I always recommend. One of the people that I'm coaching, they're interested in QA, and I found a startup that didn't have any testing, and when I say they didn't have any testing, they don't have any testing, and able to plug the person I'm coaching into that startup, and I'm just like observing the process, giving some insight here and there, but making sure that the person I'm coaching has like all the tools that they need to be able to successfully do the work so that they can actually build experience. So, that's pretty much how I do it. Um, and Pluto said, I can only think of it. I can only think of it's an internship. Yeah, I mean, you can say it's internship, you can say it's freelance, you can say it's contract, whatever the case may be. You don't have to disclose how much you're getting paid on like from doing that type of work because to me, what people lack the absolute most is experience. And they say, "Oh, I need experience to get this job." But how do I get experience to get the job? And I said, well, and some people say, oh, I would never work for free. Well, maybe you'll never get a job. Oh, it should be a paid internship. I agree. It would be nice for internships to be paid, but I would also, to me, I also take payment in the form of experience. If I didn't know anything about something, you don't you don't know how much it takes to hire someone. Hiring is so expensive. Just coaching people and trying to get them to do what they're supposed to do. That is super like that's a lot of work on its own. So imagine a company who has to invest in you and give you benefits and all this type of stuff, and then they have to go into legal situations because if they fire you and stuff like that because you can't do the job, then they have to be on the hook for unemployment and all that type of stuff. And this is why these companies are like, I'll just go send the job to Mexico. I'll just send the job to India or something like that because it's expensive to hire people. And then if they don't have any experience and we're supposed to just give them a chance, that's in a very expensive chance that you're giving somebody. So, so to answer your question, Pluto, I would say team up with somebody and try to get with one of those like you said, founder and CEOs who are looking to build something and work with them. Find a mentor who is doing like experienced software engineer to mentor you that you can like meet with them, get some coaching and stuff like that in case you have any questions, and go from there. But teaming up with somebody, I think um, working for experience. You know how the I guess I'll say the homeless people they'll say we'll work for food. Say we'll work for experience. I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. If I needed experience in something, I would work for experience in a heartbeat. Pluto says, seems too competitive more than mid-level, senior level roles. I don't know, just my observation. The lower level roles are super, super competitive. That's a fact. It's very competitive. Only so much you can do. So trying to build your skill set to a higher level so that you can lower that competition. Oh, Mitch said CEO and founder. All right. Yeah, might as well work the slave wage zero and get real world skills. See, and that's where I say that I don't think $0. It's not $0 because I'll tell you why it's not $0 and it's not slave wage because let's say I have a company right and you're interning for me. The amount of time it takes me to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do and that I'm like still trying to run my company and stuff like that, that is expensive on its own. And if it takes you time to actually start to produce, it's it's tough. It's and that's why some people they just rather like do it on their own, because coaching and stuff like that, it's stuff like and that's why people like that's why companies want experience. When you're getting somebody out, like a lot of interns, they're like they're in college. And nowadays, like a lot of interns are getting paid something. I don't know how much you're getting paid, but back in the days, interns didn't used to get paid. So, and because the amount of time and effort and money that goes into like the intern programs, it's a lot and it's not easy because you have to find something for them to do, you know. So that's why and that's why I think that those the college students really value those internships because of the experience that they're able to put on their resume. Like now when we're interviewing um fresh college, like they're not even graduated yet. They're about to graduate, and we're interviewing them, and they're able to share their experience of working over the past summers as interns and stuff like that. Saying, "Oh, I did software, I did like QA testing here. I did software development for this internship. I did data science for this internship." We're like, "Okay, cool. you have some experience based because of your internships. And now, yeah, we can actually bring you into this entry level role. See, the problem comes when people are trying to transition, and then they get like, they get one of those internships from the boot camps where it's not really a real internship, but they also can't afford to do a real internship. And companies aren't really offering internships to those boot camp people in the first place, right? But it's just the position that you are in life, you can't really do a real internship, and it's also not really available to you. So it's a tough dynamic. It's a tough dynamic. But I've seen both. Like, I mean, I've never been an intern, but I've worked with interns, and you know, it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? All right. Let's see here. So, let me see. So I'll answer this one quickly. How do I find these startups? So I go to I don't really go to LinkedIn like that for that. I could, but I go to different Slack groups that I'm in. So I'm always joining different Slack groups. I'll message you which one that I used. I know there was this one company that was looking for software engineering, or a software engineer. I'll use like different discords, different, just looking like, hey, anybody working on a project, any startups and stuff like that. And based on the feedback that I get, I try to plug people in. So we'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that. And all right, I'm gonna go to the next question, because if I'll just keep talking to you guys for the entire night, and then we'll continue. Let's do the next question, and then we'll get to I'll get back to the chat. All right. So let's get to the next question.
Another one.
API testing. I'm working on the project where I have to test APIs. Though I have done it before, I want to know what are better ways to test APIs, or if I can do it in any automated way. Yeah, I like it. Right now, I do a lot of manual testing. Process is to run the server on my local, or sometimes QA, hit all the APIs with Postman and check the results. But since our system is so complex, I sometimes need to test unto 15 to 16 different APIs to make sure they are not being impacted. I'm wondering if anyone has a better thought. I was thinking of writing test cases and automate some processes. Any better way or tool which can be used? Well, now you are speaking one of my love languages. I repeat, I love testing APIs. I love working on APIs. I love, I'm one of the in the coaching group. We are building you've seen it before. We're building an application, and I'm actually working on the API and the database and stuff like that. Let's get the question started, okay? So, testing APIs. You don't. So many people they use Postman. They try to automate through Postman, which they can do some stuff, right? And they want to use Newman and stuff like that. I personally don't like automating through Postman. I use Postman only strictly for manual testing or Insomnia, whatever tool you want to use. But when I automate my API testing, I'm either going to be using Java with Rest Assured, or I'm going to be using PyCharm for the request library. And I think you can do it as well in JavaScript and TypeScript if you're into that type of thing, right? You can do it in TypeScript and JavaScript using maybe Chai or Mocha. What are their, like, they have like a million testing libraries for JavaScript, but you can use those to do it. But when I do, and here's the story. This is how I got into to automating APIs, right? When I started at a company, and that was pretty much my first real exposure to testing APIs, and I did it manually for one afternoon, and I said, I have to do this every single time. Nah, that's not gonna work. So I searched, because I was heavy into Java. I was doing all of my automation with Java at the time. I said, I googled Java library for API testing, and I came up with rest assured. And I said, okay, cool. Let me start to figure this thing out. And I think it probably was around like 4:30 that day when I found rest assured, and I started playing around with that. And I went home and I spent the rest of the evening uh, seeing getting it configured to work. And once I was able to do my first API test using rest assured, I said, okay, cool. From now on, anytime I do a Postman to do a manual test, I'm just gonna add the equivalent API test or automated test for the API. And from there, I was able to when we were building a new API for one of the products we're working on, I was able to have 1,000 tests running daily in like 10 minutes, running daily, scheduled, running boom, 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 and doing all the positive tests, all the negative tests, so many different scenarios, using a spreadsheet of all the different data types to send in. So you have the right mindset. So I would say I would like I would recommend using Python and the request library because Java and rest assured it's a bit work to get that set up, and I think the fastest route would be using Python and the request library. It's super super easy to use, and you would basically say, all right, when you import the request library, you would say I make a get request at this endpoint, and I should get this response, and you do your validation and your assertion on what you expect to get. So that would be the status code, that would be the whatever response body that you get, things like that. As well as if you are testing the schemas of the API, what it's supposed to accept, same thing, pretty much same thing. And you automate all of that, and you have different scenarios, different variations of your tests. And the good thing about API tests that they can go so quickly. And here's the reason that I don't like to do it through Postman, because to me, number one, it's a lot of different variables and stuff. But you also need to use an external tool to have Postman be able to execute the test, and you have to do it through like some type of JavaScript, something like. I never even bothered to try it because I'm like, hey, I can just do this through code. Why do I need to use Postman if I can do it through code, right? So that's and you can have some really cool, awesome tests. And here's another reason that I like to do it through code, because in the same code that I have my web automation, I can also have API calls to do certain things. So I can stage data that's going to be needed for my web automation test. I can stage that. I can get rid of data. I can do whatever I want to do. I can put the two together. I can run a whole suite of API tests. So that is why I would highly recommend that you. I would say start with the rest assured in Java is great. I would start with Python because that would be the lowest barrier to entry. Learn Python and use a request library. There's plenty of courses if you're not familiar with it, and then you can even chain. You can chain your requests. So you say you have to test 15 to 16 different APIs. So you can say, okay, after I do this, the same way you have a test case, you're gonna copy that test case into a and comment like copy it into the file that's going to be having your your code, right? You copy it to the file and okay, you just go one line by line. You just automate, automate, automate. And with the test-driven development mindset, is you make it work and then you make it better. Every single time you see me working on code on this channel, I get it to work and then I make it better. I get it to work, I make it better. And it's just that residual cycle of getting it to work and then I make it better. And so I think if you were to do that, you would have a lot of success in your process. All right. So shout out to that question. I love APIs. I love this question. I cannot wait until we get to the API testing on this channel. And just to add, everything has API. Like Facebook has API, YouTube has API, everything has API, and that's how you're able to see all these different applications connect to one another because they're using those APIs to connect to one another. So, like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of API testing coming very soon. Okay, so let me get back to the chat. Mitch says multiple personalities. Pluto says, yeah, so my company, Fortune 50. So first and foremost, it is his Friday, and then he's bragging about the Fortune 50 client. Pluto is awesome. It is legit, probably 90% offshore, replacing our tier one with Indians. That's how the game goes. It's expensive. It is expensive to hire people here, you know? And guess what? In a lot of those foreign countries, the labor laws are like, well, India is a little different because you have like if you wanna quit a job over there, you have to give like a 3 months notice. But I know in like South America, in some of those countries, if you want like if you can't just fire people. You need to like give them like 6 months. So the labor laws, even when they're like tough, they still seem cheaper than here, and that's why people like to outsource. Because it's wild. Hiring is expensive, but I don't know a lot of tech jobs. I don't know a lot of tech jobs are going abroad. I think. I don't know a lot. Are you saying that they're not going abroad, or you don't, or you think that they're going abroad? Because I think it depends on the level of the job. For instance, like in QA, the lower, like the manual testers, they're not here. They're in other countries, whether they're in South America, whether they're in India, they're in other countries. You know what I mean? But they those senior levels, you're gonna find them here because they're the ones who are like I was reading a job description the other day. I think it was on Sunday, and it says the lead is going to be working with the onshore and the offshore. So they'll get somebody here to manage it, and their level of experience has to be higher. And Mitch is not just tech jobs. Mitch says every company has some form of tech, even though if they are not considered tech. Yeah, yeah, that's true. What other industries? Not sure what they are. And which is internship. Now I want a NIL deal. Shout out to the NIL deal. Yeah, and Slack. I'll if you're not in that Slack yet, I'll send you a link to it. It's kind of dead, but I try to make it happen, and I wish I was a brag more of a. That's okay. I got you. I got you. Okay, my bad. My bad. My bad. And it says 3 months kick rocks. You getting a today notice. But that's the law over there. That's the crazy thing about it. That's because I'll be reading some stuff and they'll say, I'm like, where is this? This is crazy. Because for us here, we're like, oh, I'm out. I'm out. Um, who's a who asked, what is NIL? What does it stand for? I know what it is, but it's like the deals that the college players now they get the NIL deal where they can get paid and stuff. Yeah, name, image, likeness. That's what it is. Yeah. Um, Because I trained that tier one security team. They're cool people, but but they told me they make 7,000 per year, which is decent for them. Cost of living is about. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? That that's why. That's why. But if the stuff is like a lot more complex, you because here's the thing, they're the time zone is gonna be different and stuff like that. So it just depends on the what the need is for the company. Some companies are gonna keep it here because of the type of work that they're doing, security like cybersecurity risk, different things like that. So Pluto says the entire team is about 90 to 100K versus one American. You see my point. You see my point. So it's tough. Black bear. All right. All right, let's get to our next question. Let's get to our next question. Let's see here. So before we get to our next question, if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live and drop new content. If you want to have a conversation with me, we can spend 3 to 5 minutes. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. Just click on the link, the restream link, and you don't have to, and you will not be on camera for the show. Okay? Okay, let's get to our next question.
Another one.
Transitioning from front end development to DevOps or quality assurance, and you are seeking advice. All right. I'm currently a front end developer with experience of 2 years building web applications with React, Next.js. I mostly work on front end, but have good knowledge of backends using Node as I did for my personal projects. I tried problem solving in code forces and leak code to get better, but always gave up after a half of a month because how difficult it was for me to solve the easiest problems. But the problem is with the addition of AI, I'm very worried I won't be able to sustain unless I become a very good software developer with problem solving skills or switch my career path. So so here we go. Instead of instead of enhancing your problem solving skills, we're going to go. So lately, I've been contemplating a transition in my career path towards either DevOps or quality assurance QA engineering. I have a fundamental knowledge of networking, GitHub, and basics of AWS. I had the pleasure of working with QA as a front end developer, but I really need some advice on which path might be easier to transition into, DevOps or QA engineering. I understand that both fields have their own unique skill set and demand, but I'm looking for insight from those who have made similar transitions or have experience in these areas. I am lost at deciding at the moment. If you have any recommendations, insights, or personal experience to share, I would greatly appreciate it. I am absolutely offended. I'm offended. Why am I offended? Why am I offended? I am offended because the implication of this question is that only software developers have to deal with problem solving skills. You could not be further from the truth, my friend. DevOps, QA, software engineer, cybersecurity, everything in life has to do with problem solving. Your whole life is about problem solving. Since the day you were coming out of the womb, you have to figure out how to get out of there. That was a problem you had to solve. I'll see my kid waddling around trying to figure out how something works. Figuring out how to use the phone, how to use the tablet, how to turn on the TV, how to put it on Cocomelon. Everything is about problem solving. So when you say that you would rather switch your career from being a software developer because you don't have any problem solving skills and go to DevOps, I do DevOps work, Terraform infrastructure as code. I've been doing it for since September, every Sunday, about 2 to 3 hours since September. And you don't know how many times we had to do a part one, part two, part three, because of we had to figure out the problem and then how to code it. How long have we been? How many Thursdays have we been working on Calculus Coder, coming across issues, fixing the issues? Like when I think about, oh, we got jokes. All right. See, this is why I don't look at the chat because Mitch has jokes, right? Let me play this for Mitch. This is for you, Mitch. There you go. But I didn't even start the clock. I'll put 3 minutes on. Oops. Where's 3 minutes? I'll put 3 minutes. Actually, no, I'll put 5. So, yeah, but DevOps, it has its own set of challenges that you have to figure out. What's the best way to set up the server? What's the tools that are needed? What's the infrastructure that's needed? Are we going to use Packer? Are we going to use Ansible? Are we going to be using Terraform? Are we going to be setting it up through Google Cloud? Are we going to be doing it through AWS? Are we going to use Azure? What type of security are we going to have in place? How are we going to work with the developers? What is the CI/CD pipeline that we're going to be using? Everything that I just asked, that's a problem that needs to be solved. Everything that I just asked is a problem that needs to be solved. Quality assurance. Let's get to QA. Okay, how are we going to test this? What are the requirements? What is the acceptance criteria? Can we automate it? Is it a mobile application? Is it a desktop application? Is it a web application? Do we have the tools and the resources that we need to do it? How are we going to be releasing? Are we going to be releasing story by story? Are we going to be releasing sprint by sprint? These are all these are all the problems that come in with every single role. And I'm sure if I asked about cybersecurity to Socks or to Pluto, if I asked about data to Mitch, there's problems that they need to solve, because why would they hire you if there's not a problem that needs to be solved? So you're worried about because you know you have trouble with code forces and need code. Why don't you just build something? Why don't you push yourself to build something complicated? Y- You would think the application that I'm building with my tech barbarians, super simple, right? Super simple. But the infrastructure behind it is complicated. It's not easy. When we started this application, well, not even when we started, because when we started, like, most people didn't know anything, and now their skill level is up here. They were like down here. They're down here. Their skill level is up here now, knowing about databases, about Docker, about I didn't even mention Docker. I didn't even mention Docker. Docker is a huge part of this whole ecosystem. Containers, images, all stuff that are related to DevOps. So uh, when you're focused on, oh, how can I best write this code, and lead code and stuff like that. I know some companies ask for lead code and stuff like that. I couldn't care less about lead code and code force and all that stuff. I care about, what did you build? Real life examples. So and that's why I love the chaos camp that Don has built, and we were working on that last year, and we're working on like the code wars and stuff like that. But I said, you know what? Let's build stuff, and that's why we transitioned to the Flutter in the morning, building practical applications. And you'll see me. I'm like, okay, I need to put this dialog box for this error. How do I do that? And you see me researching it with you, and then I'll, after the stream is over, I keep researching, and I'm like, okay, I got it. I come back and I show, okay, this is how we did it. This is the code behind it. Problem solving. If you have trouble solving problems, it's easy to fix. It's Googl. Google it. Stack Overflow is your best friend. See, you're worried about AI, but you're trying to run to AI. You're trying to run from AI instead of just getting better. Focusing on the right things. Like, you think doing lead code and stuff like that is what's going to make you a developer or something like that. It just means you can solve problems that don't really have much value. And when I was doing code wars, right? I'll tell you this. When I was doing code wars, and I look at some of the solutions that people would give, they would give like these one-line solutions that work, but they're incomprehensible. And if you see the way that I write my code, I make it very, very legible for when my future self comes back to it tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Versus, what the hell does that mean? So I would say, regardless of whether you're going to software development or staying in software development, or going to DevOps, or going to quality assurance, you're going to be hired to solve problems. And if you're running from solving problems, then maybe you're in the wrong field. I mean, even if you work at at Dunkin' Donuts, right? Even if you work at Dunkin' Donuts, you're still solving somebody's problem, because they need coffee, they need a donut, they need a sandwich. You're solving a problem for them. You being able to make it, or take their money, operate the cash register, if those places even still have people. But if they do, you're solving a problem for them. So every single thing you do in life is solving a problem. Think about that. All right. So that's what I leave you with. That is what I leave you with. All right, let's go back to the chat. And it's like 1 American, 120. Yep, that's how it is. Pluto, like, I wouldn't mind going to India. And we have jokes here. Let me give you another one of these. Avoid the ops. Too many. It's about. I mean, you get paid to solve problems, and the more complex the problems are, the more you get paid. And why do you think like you have some of these cybersecurity people where they get really paid because they're solving a complex problem? See, I'm not talking about those people who say they went from 40K to 400K in like 2 months. I'm talking about the people who are actually like putting in the work. And Pluto says security is dealing with everyone's problems from a security standpoint. So data analysts not having clean code, leading possible SQL injections, or business marketing teams sending 10,000 emails at the same time. Thank you, Pluto. Exactly what I was thinking. Or networking teams, or HR, or forensics employees terminated, stealing equipment, server compliance. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're going to continue with tomorrow on tomorrow's software explorations concept and overviews, talking about the GRC framework. Everything that Pluto is mentioning right now falls under like the either governance, under risk management, or under compliance. And it's all about protecting the company, protecting our stakeholders, things like that. So for cybersecurity, it's a lot. It's a lot. And that's why I say for every department, like every aspect that you're working in, it's work. It's going to be work, So if you think you're going to escape to QA or DevOps because you don't know how to, you have poor problem solving skills, I would say, how about you level up your problem solving skills? And that doesn't mean you can't go to QA or to DevOps or whatever, but you still need problem solving skills, all right? And which says 40 to 400K. Literally saw that video the other day. I saw it too. I saw it too. And Pluto says, I want to make 400K, please. I want to make 400K too. I want to make it. But, we will one day. All right. So let's get to our next question. Let me see. We are good on time. Drink. All right. We are good to go. Let's get to our next question.
Another one.
I guess tonight is API night because this one says low code API test automation tool. I'm starting a new sprint team at my company, and one of the goals for this quarter is to automate the API test to run on every sprint via CI/CD triggers. Every sprint. Interesting. Looking to find a tool that can help with API automation since my coding skills are limited. I know a little bit of Java, but my team is built with mostly manual QAs. I don't want to use Postman because we have to build a lot of integration tests between the services, sometimes almost 20 services in a test with multiple variables being passed from one service to another. Postman's integration test using collections and variables is cumbersome to manage. That's what I was mentioning earlier about trying to do it with Postman is a pain in the beep. Any suggestions of any tools used by you all for low code API tools? Also, I want to test REST APIs only. All right. So I'm going to stick back to what I originally said. You know some Java. Python is so much easier than Java. I would say go with Python and use the request library and do your valid, like you can even use like cucumber behave in Python, because here's why I I shy away from those low code I shy away from those low code tools, right? Set the clock. Because there are some customizations that I would want to do, or setting some variables in certain spots. And a lot of times you're at the mercy of those tools where you cannot do certain things. And the way that my mind works is I get to a roadblock and I say, okay, there goes the problem solving part, right? I get to a roadblock and I say, okay, what do I need to do to overcome this obstacle, this roadblock? So, okay, for instance, you need to wait until something is available. So let's make it practical. Make it practical. You send an API request to create a user, and it takes about 1 minute for the user to be created in the system. For some reason, it takes 1 minute. You have the user ID, but for the user to be provisioned, it has to become a status of active. So now you would say, okay, I am going to send a request to get the user status. And every time that I send the request, it says that the user is pending. So so I'm trying every 5 seconds for up to 1 minute. As soon as the status says active, then I can go to the next step. A lot of times it's hard to do that inside of these low code tools, because of they're limited, because the reason they're limited is because it's supposed to be easy to use, but with ease comes less customization. So I like to write my own code and to do what I have to do. So for instance, if I'm using behave and gherkins and stuff, I can say, okay, you have a step. I wait for the user status to become active, and inside of the step definition where I'm writing the code, I can say, okay, every 5 seconds, I want to send this request to the user endpoint, and it's going to look for the field or the key for status to see what it is. And if it's not active yet, then you wait another 5 seconds, and then you send the request again, and you send it over and over and over until it does become active. And now we move on to our next step. So the same way, for me, the same exact way I would be automating a website, I'm going to be automating the API. So because you say that you have where did you say it? It says sometimes almost 20 services in a test with multiple variables being passed from one service to another. So you can set that variable and you say, okay, now after I make this request to this endpoint, I have to go to this next endpoint, and you can define your endpoints and says, and this is the request body for it. And you send that request, you just keep going down like the same exact way. Like when you're automating a website, you're saying, go to the homepage, click on the login button, enter the username and password, click on login, go to the, I don't know, my account page, click on order history. The same way you're going through that whole process is the same exact way that you'd be automating an API. Instead of you're clicking on particular buttons, you're saying, send this request, validate this response, extract these variables from the response and store them as a variable. And you say, okay, now send this request passing these particular variables. That's the concept of API testing. And that's why, to me, a basic API test in Python is the most efficient low code way because I can do if statements. If this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do that. I can put breaks. I can do loops. And the API testing library is super, super simple with Python. And here's something that I've never been afraid to do. When I was working with manual testers and they were at a lower level, I said, okay, cool. Well, I'll teach you how to run these automated tests. And I would highly encourage you to learn automation yourself to make yourself more valuable. Some did it, some didn't. Some wanted to stay exactly as they were. But I'll tell you this, though, when I was working with QA testers and engineers and analysts in South America, they embraced the opportunity and the knowledge that I was sharing with them to be able to execute these tests, to be able to write these tests and things like that. So for low code API test automation, I would scratch that. I'd scratch that idea, right? Get rid of the idea for low code API tests. Learn Python. You already know Java, so it should be easy for you to learn Python. Take a Udemy course. And start building out the infrastructure. You can use your manual testers, your manual QA, to do some work for you. Whether it's setting up the API calls, whether it's or the request bodies, finding the endpoints, documentation. And then, make it work. Make it work. I would not recommend going to low code because it's going to slow you down. It's going to cause limitations and stuff like that. All right. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Mitch says, Pluto, what most don't tell you is they are working 2 to 3 jobs, maybe even 4. That's a fact, though. That is true. I wonder if we saw the same. The thing is, there's so many of them like that, overemployed lifestyle. I wonder how they even get a second job so hard in this market. Good question. I mean, they might have. I think, I see, here's the thing. Those videos are probably old. When, like, during pandemic time, when everybody was working from home, and, so it was easier to get a second job at that time. But, I saw another video. Somebody was quitting their job because they were tired, so they were tired. I don't know. It's just some people do all contract or full-time in contract or 2 full-time. It depends. Yeah. And what's always been my biggest issue with that is meetings, right? How do they manage their meetings? Because there's meetings like all different times of the day and stuff like that, and unless they're working like 2 totally different shifts, because I've heard of people working at the same time, which is not. That's, to me, that's theft, right? But it's just me. What else we got? Also, some had jobs already, but they make it seem like they just got them. That's true. Because makes sense. I will look for some remote contracts, but yeah, they do make it seem like, well, yeah, exactly. They make it seem like it's one high paying job. Oh my God. Look who we got in the Chizat. Melissa says, Python is easier than Java, so which one is more important? The easiest one, Python. So the thing with that is it's not that there's one that's more important than the other. It depends on what the use case is and what it's being used for. Some companies will do some companies will do Java, right? Because that, like, the what they're building, it's better built on Java. some companies, they're going to be using Python because of maybe they're doing data or something like that, and the processing power, the ease. So it just depends. I would say that it's not that one is more important than the other. Python is easier to learn, but Java might be more powerful in its capabilities. So it just depends. From a QA perspective, like from quality assurance perspective, I would, I kind of recommend now. I was recommending people to go with Java, but Java is a little bit more complex to learn, and I would say you would get ramped up faster going with Python. And there's so many different Python libraries as well. So, there's no, I can't say one of them is more important than the other. It just depends on the use case. Mitch says they won't tell you that part. You are correct. They act like one job pays 500K. I will say that there are jobs that pay 500K plus, but that's not the norm. Sales pays those type of salaries. Yeah, and it depends on what you're selling too. And it says Ralph, some have two earpieces in and put their self on mute. I guess that seems so hard to manage, though. Seems so hard to manage. All right, let's get to our second to last question of the night. But if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live and drop new content. If you need one-on-one coaching, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev where you can sign up for a coaching plan with yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph. All right, next question.
Another one.
QA testing internship. I'm a student that has been offered a QA testing internship. My knowledge in this area is limited, and I have several questions since I don't fully know this is the career path I want to take. Well, that's why it's an internship. You can figure it out. I've had an interview with my boss, and he has explained to me that the focus is on mobile testing, and there is manual testing depending on the project we take. At first, they will explain me the basics such as building test cases. Wow, you're lucky. He has told me that they will introduce me to automated, not automatic, but automated testing. Also, that there's a team that builds the tests, assume coding them. I've read this might be SDETs, and I won't be assigned to that. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's not the right one, but maybe I'll go with this one. That's not a good one either. Anyways, whatever. So I want to know mainly because I'm a very avid learner and I like to code. I've coded in C and C++, and I know Java intensively. Nice. My main concern is that I will not learn fully to develop. Well, it is an internship, remember that. But since I've never been in a production environment, I think maybe being introduced through testing might help me. That's a fact. Do you think this is a good career path? I'm going to be 9-hour days working, and I just want to use my brain and do a fulfilling job. So there are some people, let's start the timer. There's some people who think that QA is a unappreciated position, and I could not disagree more with those people. Here's the thing. If you, it's number one, first and foremost, this is an internship, right? It's an internship. So that means you get to explore and you get to build experience. You get to add something to your resume and you get to see if this is for you. This does not have to be forever. Okay? And here's the thing. I think that a QA internship is super duper important for you if you have aspirations of becoming a software developer, software engineer, full stack developer, because it's going to give you the mindset of how to think with quality. Because a lot of times developers, they only think of the good scenarios. And then if they write unit tests, they're going to write their code first, where they in their mind it's working, and then they start writing their unit tests. First they write the unit tests to make sure that everything is nice, and then they start thinking, okay, what are the ways that this could possibly have an issue? And they'll start to try to write unit tests that way, but that kind of defeats the purpose of if you were to get it to not work first and then get it to work, right? So doing it the reverse. being in QA, you're going to develop the mindset of thinking about nothing works. So developers think everything work and we think nothing works and we meet in the middle, right? We need those two opposing visions so that we can catch the things that don't work and then we can also know the things that do work. So that's why I think that it would be essential for you to go into QA, especially if you want to become a software developer, whatever, right? Um, and being that you're going to be focused on mobile testing, I think that's amazing. Absolutely amazing that you'd be working on mobile testing because uh, mobile is the future. Mobile is the future, and you'd probably get to work on either some Flutter apps or on some React Native apps, whichever it is that they choose. And here's the thing, you're going to be working on manual testing. Just because at your internship, in your 9 hours, you're going to be focused on manual testing. What about the other 24 minus 9 hours in a day? Right? Yes? You should seize the opportunity to learn about automated testing as well as collaborate with those SDETs to say, hey, what are you doing? Right? Just what are you doing? And you can see the type of code that they write, the things that they do. So you can see, is this something that interests you, or would you want to go more into a developer role? But even if you go into a developer role, the opportunity is absolutely amazing for you to learn the skill set of testing, and you can have a more test driven mindset so that your code can be that much cleaner. So that's my goal is always clean code. I always want to see clean code. And I think if you approach it that way and you fully embrace the tester lifestyle, you might end up staying, who knows? But if you don't, at least you'll know how we think and how we operate. And like I said, this is just an internship. That's it. It's not a forever job. It can be if you like what you're doing, but you can go to DevOps. You can go because apparently you're a problem solver. You can go to DevOps, you can go to QA, you can go to cybersecurity, you can go to project management, you can go to product management. There's so many different things you can do. So I if I am coming out of college, I would never turn down the opportunity of an internship to work for a tech company, regardless of the company, regardless of the pay. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and rent some apartment at some place and you're not getting paid, but look for opportunities to build that experience. If anything else, this is going to build amazing experience for you. Working with software developers, working with QA engineers, working with the Scrum Master, working with the product owner, working with working on a team environment. See, these are the things that people miss, right? And Pluto, this is what this is what I was talking about. People miss that level of experience because they're just thinking, oh, code, 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 code. And it's like, no, there's so much more. There's how do I work with a team? How do I work how do I work in Jira? How do I work with in the agile methodology? Those things that you don't learn for the most part in colleges, you need that to actually be able to integrate with a team, and that experience that you can learn as an intern or whatever is worth more than gold. And that's the process that I work with my coaching team is like introducing them to I have them use Jira. I have them use the agile methodology. We have our sprint meetings and stuff like that. Have stand-ups. All those things are very, very important. So I would say hands down, this is not an opportunity you want to pass up. All right? All right. And Mitch says, is DevOps even still good to get into? So I'm going to answer it like this. Like I normally say about manual testing. Manual testing will always be needed, but manual testers, not so much. So you still need to learn DevOps and the infrastructure and stuff like that. But a lot of times it gets incorporated between what the software engineers do, what the QA engineers do. There might be a infrastructure team who's responsible for the overall infrastructure of the company, but that doesn't mean that there's like DevOps who's doing like the actual releases and stuff like that. You might have some people like you might not get that title DevOps engineer as much anymore, but that those roles are going to be incorporated into different aspects. Now, depending on the industry that you're working in, if you're working for let's say you're a highly regulated industry, there might be some regulations for like separation of duty tasks where you would need a DevOps person the same way you need a QA person, you need a software engineer person, etc. Because like for instance, when I was working at the pharmaceutical company, the developers were not allowed to push the code to production because they wrote it. So the QA would be the ones who were pushing the code to production through the CI/CD software. And that's documented on who's doing it and things like that. So it just depends on the industry, but I would say like the title of DevOps is not as popular as it used to be. I mean, you'll still find it, but it's just not as popular as it used to be, because a lot of software engineers are doing some of those roles. A lot of QA engineers are doing some of those roles, and then you have the infrastructure team. Because like I'll tell you this, like on the team that I work for, we're the ones who write the Terraform code and figure that stuff out. We're the ones who do our own Docker images and stuff like that and figure that stuff out. So I know I do a lot of Docker stuff. All right. Let's see. Pluto says I know a lot of people make six figures out of college, possible, but it up. Yeah. People want to do six figures right out of college, but it's hard. It is hard. I mean, because the thing is, all you have is mostly what you have. I'm not gonna say all, but mostly what you have in college is theory. So it's just not easy. Unless you build something incredible that you can show, you're just very green at that point. And it's just working with the data team like me. All right, let's get to our last question for the night, and then because I have a call at 9:30 that I got to get to, so let's wrap this up tonight. So last question of the night. If you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor: like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. If you are in need of one-on-one coaching, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev and sign up for a coaching plan today. All right, let's go.
Another one.
Questions regarding software testing. It's been 4 months now since I started shifting my career and learning software testing. I've learned manual testing, automation testing using Selenium, Java fundamentals, database fundamentals, API testing, and I'm a certified ISTQB tester. It's like these acronyms keep getting longer and longer. What's FL? I have to look it up. What is the FL for? The FL stands for foundational level. Which level? What level? What foundational level are you, buddy? All right. So let's see. All right. To be honest, I like testing so much, especially the automation part. Yeah, that's awesome. But I've heard some things that made me a bit hesitant. So I wanted you guys to help me out with these questions. I learned the fundamentals in Java. Do I have to go deep into it or even master it? Would it be helpful in the resume and in work or learning new languages like Python? Is testing a good field in general? Like some people said, it's better to learn developing rather than testing because more job opportunities for developing. What do you think of that? Where it's the average salaries of software testers? What depends on the country and the state that you're in. Would you recommend me trying developing before going deeper into testing, like front-end developing or something? Well, let's quickly take this on, all right? Because I think we've answered most of these questions tonight, but let's take this on. Why not? All right, so let's go ahead and put our 5 minutes up. Okay, so do I have to go deep into Java? I would say that Here's a problem. People don't know how to learn. I always learn by doing what's necessary. So let's say you have a Java course, and as you're going along that Java course, you're going to be learning new strategies how to make your code better. But if you want to learn how to do automation and stuff like that, start automating. So you're doing it in parallel. So let's say you're taking a course on automation, and they're telling you, okay, this is what you're going to be doing. This is how you do the page object model, et cetera, et cetera. You need to actually be finding something to work on. So find, I don't know, Amazon.com. We've done that before. Find Amazon.com and you start automating it. And you do it in Java or in Python, whatever. Like on this channel, from the first time from one of our very first streams, it was automating. I think we did Uber Eats, and we did Amazon at some point. But we said we're gonna do it in Java and Python side by side. So and if I pull up that code today, it still works, And so I would say you need to get decent. You need to get enough for your code to be clean and for it to work. And then as you continue to learn, you're going to continue to see new strategies to make it better. So would it be helpful to put in your resume? Absolutely. Any coding language that you know is going to be helpful to put in your resume. He says, or would learning a new language like Python? Well, if you know very little about Java and very little about Python, then you know very little about two languages. I would say I think it's very, very important to learn Python. However, you need to get good, because if you can get good at Java, then you'll definitely get good at Python, because that's how I was able to pick up Python so easily, because I knew a good deal about Java. And then I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy. Just got to learn the syntax and stuff like that. So that's what I would say. I would say pick a struggle. Go if you're getting good in Java, use Java to learn Selenium. And then once you get to a good skill set in that, then also learn Python, because there's a lot of things you can do in Python, which you could probably do in Java, but it's going to be a little bit harder to do it in Java. The syntax is so much more in Java. All right. So is testing a good field in general? It depends on, so I mean, I'm going to say yes, it is a good field, but it depends on what you're doing in testing. If you are doing automated testing and you're doing like research and trying to solve problems, always say, okay, what is the need and how do I solve that need? And that is the recipe for success. What is the need? How do I solve that need? That's business, right? So some people said it's better to be learning developing than testing. I honestly think that if you know how to test, then you can also, it doesn't mean that you know how to develop, but it gives you a mindset on when you're learning to develop, how do I test what I'm developing? I wouldn't want someone who just develop only and they don't think about testing, because then that's when you start having buggy software, buggy code full of defects. I've worked with developers in the past who had no care for testing, and then as soon as you start up the application, the homepage doesn't even load, and they think it's the job of the tester to report that the homepage isn't loading. No, that's your job. There's development testing as well that needs to be done. So I think testing is a great field if you are, based on the reason that you're doing it. If you're just doing it to do manual testing, sitting around all day waiting for someone to throw something your way, then no, it's not a good field. The average salaries for software testers it depends on the country that you're in, the state that you're in, the city that you're in. If you're working remote, if you're not working remote, the size of the company that you're working for. But it can go for software testers, like manual testers, if they exist in the U.S. Let's say it can go from as low as like $45,000 to $48,000, all the way up to $200,000, depending on your role. Just depends. You can be a director, you can be a manager. You can be working for a pharmaceutical company. You can be working for the way that pay works in general, right? The more in demand that you are, the more you're going to get paid. So you can be, let's say it's for an organization, retention is key. Like it's expensive for them to lose an employee. You're probably going to get a bunch of benefits, get some equity, get some stocks, get a high paying salary, because it costs them too much to lose you. But if you're working for a company where they can just pick up any old Joe Schmo off the street and have them do software testing, then you're going to get paid, very little because the competition is fierce. And that's why I always say you need to separate yourself from everyone else. You got to separate yourself because everyone is your competition. So separate yourself. All right. So that is my answer. So last one. Would you recommend me develop me before going deeper into testing, friend developing or something? I would say if you're already learning testing, stick with testing. You got to learn both because I think they work together. Learning testing is going to make you a better developer. Learning development is going to make you a better tester. So that's all I can say to that. All right. Let's wrap that question up with a bow. All right, we are going to get out of here tonight. And I think that's it. Step 1, date the 8. That works too. All right, so let's get out of here. I got a call in like 4 minutes. So thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Pluto, shout out to you. Mitch, shout out to you. Don, thank you for stopping by. As always, I am going to wrap it up tonight. So on my way out, I always have, I answered all of your questions tonight. I have a question for you. The question is,
are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Is this not why you're here? Because you know that.
All we do is win, man. You know that.
All we do is win. But remember, as my good friend Mitch always likes to say, yesterday's price is not today's price. Today's price is not tomorrow's price.
One more thing. Price of the brick going up.
The price of the brick is going up. And on that note, we are out.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.